Hey guys, Richard at Write and Zoom here doing my latest Doctor Who review. So this is for the 12th or 14th Life's Doctor, played by Peter Capaldi. And yeah, loved this series, but it's not for everyone, and I'll get into some reasons why. So first of all, you've got an older Doctor. That I know, I spoke to people about this in real life, in like one of the jobs I worked at in Grantham. Some people like hated that the Doctor was no longer like young and like young and well good looking or like decent looking. They People did not want an old man being the Doctor, which is insane because the very first actor who played Doctor was an old man. They didn't even go down the younger route. Patrick Troughton was in his 40s, but generally speaking, yeah, they certainly didn't go younger than 40 for a long time. You had Paul McGann, David Tennant quite young, and then you go back to the Matt Smith, obviously being the youngest, and then you go to Peter Capaldi. Unfortunately, the way I see it, those people aren't true fans because you don't even need to watch old Doctor Who to know that they had old actors to know that they would do it again eventually. And more importantly, Peter Capaldi is absolutely the right man for the job. Lifelong fan, much like David Tennant, except obviously he'd been watching it for longer, being older, and he had so much say in the show, like the direction it went in. So we got the costume, which is most John Pertwee-esque, and you got the cloak, and he's got mannerisms of all the Doctors. William Hartnell's like grumpiness, Colin Baker's unlikableness, he's the kindness of everyone. He's older, but much like Matt Smith played a young guy in an old man in a young body. In a way, it's the opposite here. Like in the first episode, he's like fighting the villain, and the villain's like, "You're stronger than you look, aren't you?" And it's like you get the feeling, well, Matt Smith, Doctor, in his regeneration was a very old man, could barely stand. This is not the case. He may be in his 50s, but he's just as like fit as any previous Doctor who came before him. So let's get onto it. So along with that, you've got a very different relationship. So naturally there can be no love, although thankfully again that's part of Peter Capaldi's request. No flirting or anything with his companion because obviously she's way younger, but also why do we need it? This was Rusty Davies, and even to an extent Stephen Moffat's part in making the Doctor, making the women fancy the Doctor, and you can see why it would happen, but it never happened in old Doctor Who, and it isn't needed at all. Not the Doctor should never have love interests, but the way it was happening, it was too much, and it worked so much here. Like, there's a great bit in the end of episode 1 when he says, I've made lots of mistakes, it's time to put them right, and then says to Claire, I'm not your boyfriend. I never said you were. It's like, I didn't say that was your mistake. So you can see it's just how he thought about himself, the way he viewed his companions, love interests, and when he shouldn't be doing. And this scraps all of that, which is great. So structure of the series very similar to before. You've got episode 1's not set in modern day Earth, but it is set in Victorian London. But then you bring him back characters from Matt Smith's era, and it feels like it would be the 12th Doctor's home. He's with people he's familiar with, and it sort of works. And then you've got your future episode, Dalek one, which works great because these Daleks like pure killing machines, and they massacre a lot of people, which is awesome. This goes back right to the scariness as well that the show has a habit of losing every now and then. And you've got your past episode with like a fictional or non-fictional character, in this case Robin Hood, who may be real, who may not be. And then you got your one-offs, and then you've got there's no mid-series break, but the two mid-series episodes are kind of tied together in a way, but they're not a two-parter, which is quite unique. And then at the very end of the series, it's a two-part finale. So they're kind of sort of going with the same structure as well, but different enough. So, and again, what I do like about Moffat's era is each series does feel different from the last, and this absolutely has that going for it. So main story arc, pretty much again, more of a traditional Rusty Davies style one. You basically got this woman meeting people who've died in the place that she calls heaven, and you wonder what's going on because she can see what the Doctor is up to, and there's a lot of mystery about who this character is as well. Is she an old villain like the Rani? Is she a new villain? There's obviously plenty of men and women who have good cause to be the Doctor's villains and Doctor's enemies, and it turns out this is the Master. So let's be honest, this was basically testing people's reaction to the gender swap, because since they brought up the idea of Time Lords changing gender upon evolution, it will happen to the Doctor eventually. But I don't like the idea one bit. The Doctor's male, he's got a male personality. Obviously, women can just have the same sort of sense of personality, but to him, he's like a young boy looking for adventure, and he should stay that way. But Michelle Gomez nails it as the mistress or Missy. The moment she says, "I couldn't call myself the master anymore," like you can really see it, sense the Doctor's horror at this, and oh yeah, she's just as evil and twisted as the master always has been. And I think she does a better job than John Sim. John Sim did a great job, but he was playing the role as the manic guy to be like David Tennant's manicness. That's well known, and that's not the case. I mean, people thought Charles Dance was Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones would be the Master energy, because the idea is the Master's very similar to that each version of the Doctor, but they went with something totally different. But yeah, she just nails the evilness. You know, the way she just kills about anyone just to basically hurt others, like no reason whatsoever than that. It's just great, and she's a perfect villain. And yeah, so that's the big mystery. She's basically just, it's her, basically a plan. She's basically created an army of Cybermen out of dead bodies, which is incredibly brutal. Like the finale, even, in fact, he says this is going to be some dark stuff going on, and oh yes, they do. Yeah, they're basically the idea. People who've died, they're like minds get sent to this this big neversphere where they just become convinced that they need to sign their bodies over to avoid being cremated over, because their bodies will feel the pain of being burned, which is horrible idea, and who knows, maybe it's true, but yeah, it's all basically a trick. It's not really happening. It is sci-fi after all, but the idea is it's these dead bodies are now Cybermen under the Missy's control, and again, it's the usual ending. These Cybermen are going to just take over the universe. Nope, they completely flip it around. These Cybermen are just a gift from Missy to the Doctor, like a birthday present, so that he can just go around and save everyone with an army that can't possibly lose. And the rest is all about proving the Doctor is as bad as the Master has always been. And ultimately, the other arc in the series is the Doctor a good person or not, because he really doubts it, and he realizes by the end of the series he's not a good man, but he's not a bad man. He's just a guy who goes around, helps and learns, and it's pretty much the best explanation I can think. Because even in series 6, Matt Smith's Doctor, says he has rules. And the villains, she says to him, I know why you have rules, Doctor, because you think you're a good man. He's like, good men don't need rules, but I need many. So yeah, it's something that's been going back years, and it works really, really well. But yeah, so those are all the goods of the series. Again, great dynamics between Clara and the Doctor, but he's very unlikable. He pushes it way too far. I know they've done this before, and you can see they're building to making him become more mellowed out over the years. He'd be in the show, that it's hard to watch. The episode when he basically gives Clara a really horrible choice and doesn't offer any support whatsoever is wrong, and yeah, she tears him apart for it. It's a questionable episode, but the ending with that is awesome. But yeah, he definitely does mellow out at the end, and even says in an episode, when he's basically forced to pretty much make the villain think he's willing to sacrifice everybody to defeat him. Sometimes the only choices you have are bad ones, but you still have to choose. And yeah, you don't really see that enough, and a lot of this seems to be about having to make the bad choices when there is no good one. And Peter Capaldi's just the man to nail this. I mean, as good as the actors have been, realistically, I can only imagine Chris Eccleston doing the style Peter Capaldi does as well. So yeah, really good series. Again, different structure, even though it seems similar to previous ones, and it's absolutely worth watching. But especially if you want to even if you've loved, the young dashing Doctor thing, that's all gone. But come on, Peter Capaldi's in his 50s. Plenty of women like the older guy, the silver fox look. Peter Capaldi absolutely got that, there's no question. And yeah, plenty of women still likes the older male Doctor as well. But there are some shallow fans who turned off just because he wasn't in his 20s or 30s anymore, which is really bad. But it happened. I work with people, someone and others like that, so it just is. But if you don't care about any of that stuff, you just want to watch good TV, this is it. One thing, there's another main character, Danny Pink, Clara's boyfriend, who's an ex-soldier who's now a teacher. He's brought in, and he actually dies, much like Rory did, but there's no way back for him. And what's also surprising is it's ordinary. He gets run over. In something like Doctor Who, you expect some epic death, like Jack fighting against an army of Daleks and being killed at the end. No, it's just so ordinary, and a lot of this series is like that. It's just about normal things happening, and yeah. And a good thing about Danny is he was not one of my favourite characters. He's just how much Clara loves him. They don't seem a great couple together, but it's great that he doesn't get on well with the Doctor. He views himself, he knows he's been a soldier. He views the Doctor as an officer for some of his things he does, and it's importantly, it's a different dynamic. It's something you don't want the same sort of thing over and over. Rory was very different to Mickey, because much like Donnie wouldn't put up with the Doctor's bad behaviour and told him when he was doing wrong. And it's a similar thing here. They're not going to be friends. They sort of like accept each other like reluctantly, but they're never going to be best friends or anything. And it's just, again, makes the show feel very different to before, which is great. So yeah, that's it for series 8. I'll see you for 9.